Oh boy, what a controversial statement. I sure can't wait to read the comments. The game keycards are very much disliked, but I don't think most people dislike the thing for the right reason. Game keycards are a new alternative to download codes that Nintendo introduced with the Switch 2. The idea is that instead of giving people a download code, they can just receive a cartridge that is inserted into the Switch, just like a normal game cartridge would be, and then they just need to download the game from the eShop and start it once. After doing that, there is no longer a need for an internet connection, and you can just insert the game keycard anytime you want, and it's basically the same as a normal game card. Physical storage is expensive. Or wait, no it isn't. It all depends on the person selling the storage. Let's take Apple for example, as they are notorious for overcharging. If you were to buy an iPad and wanted 512 gigabytes instead of 256, we'd have to pay an additional $200 or 10 years worth of Nintendo Switch Online. But if we take a look at Walmart, a microSD with also 256 gigabytes costs just shy of $6.40. Short correction, I fell for false advertising. This is actually the price for the 32 gigabyte storage. So in actuality, 256 gigabytes would run you a bit over $25. But my point still stands. We don't know how much Nintendo actually charges developers for normal game cards, but I'm sure they're not selling it for the production cost. It's probably gonna be a pretty hefty markup. This is just speculation, but this comes from the fact that you have to pay 30% of your revenue to Nintendo if you want to sell games on the eShop, and therefore I'm pretty sure that they will price the cartridges accordingly to also get around about that 30% revenue share. Is that the main reason why there are so many game keycard releases? Yes. The world revolves around money, but there are also other reasons for game keycard releases. If I was to develop a game and wanted to release it for the Switch, the eShop would be a no-brainer. It's free besides the 30% revenue split that goes to Nintendo. But if I don't already have a publisher that would eat the cost of physical production, that could effectively prevent me from publishing the game in the physical version, as the standard capacity of a Switch 2 game card is 64 gigabytes. This can be very expensive if bought at scale, so I'd imagine as a small indie developer you'd have pretty much no chance to buy these in bulk. The game key card comes to rescue. Since this card only needs to store a single string of letters and numbers, the capacity is way less, and therefore the cards are way less expensive. That then allows you to do a physical release while keeping the expenses at a manageable level. Then there are the bigger studios choosing the game key card route, and since here it isn't really a money problem anymore, I'd generally say that this is greedy. Again, there is no reason not to put the entire game onto a card, since these companies definitely have the manpower and logistics to pull this off at a profit. All Nintendo first-party releases are fully on the cartridge, and so is Cyberpunk. No, the only valid reasons for an established publisher to use game key cards are when the game is either too big for the card. I'm not sure if Nintendo has a 128 gigabytes card lying around somewhere, but it doesn't look like it. Or if the game receives that many updates that it would just not make sense for it to get a definitive physical release where everything is stored on the cartridge. For example, back when Overwatch released in 2016, I got the physical release. It's basically a cool box with a free skin and a CD that allows you to install Battle.net. This is the launcher for Blizzard games and Activision, so that's basically where you then had to enter a code and download Overwatch. In this case it makes sense since the game costs money, so there is a reason why people would buy it and not just get it for free online. And it received so many updates, new characters, and besides that required an internet connection anyway since it was a multiplayer game. That's the reason why it didn't make sense to burn it on CD. So in a world where Call of Duty releases on the Switch 2, it would make sense to be on a game key card, if and only if the game was too big for the card. I just took COD as an example because its file sizes are notoriously huge. There's also another big win for us consumers. Game key cards need to be inserted into the console to download and first start the game. Let's say you buy a game that comes in a game key card, play it for, I don't know, a year or two, have fun with it, but then you decide you want to get something else. Before, this game would have come just in a plastic box with a download code inside. Once that code is redeemed, it's bound to your Nintendo account for a lifetime. With game key cards, you can just put the card back into the plastic quadrant and sell the whole thing. It's resellable. It's still not as good as a normal game card, but it's definitely better than download codes. You can lend it to a friend, for example. I know that since Nintendo introduced virtual game cards, they kinda improved all digitally bought copies, including all the code redeemed ones, but these are still very restricted. You need to be in close proximity to exchange games, and both of you need to be a part of a Nintendo account family group. What even is that name? Who calls their product Nintendo account family group? Also, some titles may be excluded from lending, and it's only a max of 14 days, and some other restrictions. It's cool that they retroactively improved downloads, but these game key cards are still a massive upgrade to download codes. You have way more liberty with these. But nevertheless, a normal game card with the physical data on it is still better. Normally, that'd be a joke here, but I can't be bothered. I'm too uncreative, so subscribe, I guess.